Hey YouTube, Carrotswig here, bringing you all an update to my @Ignister Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile for post-Lightning Overdrive. This is the deck used by I in the Yu-Gi-Oh Vrain series. We've had a good amount of support released for this deck throughout the years, and with the latest Yu-Gi-Oh set, Lightning Overdrive, we were given some pretty awesome support to definitely help with the overall play style of the @Ignister deck. So with it, we'll be getting some more support later on in the year as well with the Battle of Legends set, so definitely look forward to that. But until then, like I said, happy with the results with the new Link 1 @Ignister monster and all the other support for the main deck as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the main deck monsters, we are running 3 Picari @Ignister. With this card, if this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Eye spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can target 1 @Ignister monster you control, and its level becomes 4 until the end of turn. You can only use each effect of Picari once per turn. So with the level 4 monster effect, you have the option to then have 2 level 4 monsters, so you can go into Light Dragon @Ignister, being a easy way just to adjust the levels of the many different level, @Ignister monsters we have. But also the fact that Picari can search out an Eye spell or trap means we have access to plenty of different ones, like our main go-to field spell, which is Ignister Island, and also the new spell called our I Meet You, which is basically our best searcher we have in the deck for a good number of different cards we run all together. So 3 Picari is definitely staple, followed by also 3 Achichi @Ignister. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 level 4 or lower @Ignister monster from your deck to your hand, except for Achichi @Ignister. And at the start of damage step, when your Cyberse monster battles, you can banish this card from your graveyard to destroy that monster you control. You can only use each effect of Achichi once per turn. So the main destruction point of this card is to basically use it with Fire Phoenix's destruction capabilities to special summon it back onto the field. But the main reason we use Achichi is for the monster search, because with Ignister Island, we have the option to summon out more and more cards from our hand as long as our main monster zone is free. So that search with Achichi, you can basically search out Picari or any other monster we may need for our plays. And those are really the only 3 ofs we run for the @Ignister monsters. I also run 2 Doyon @Ignister. This is the Dark Attribute one. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target 1 @Ignister monster in your graveyard, add to your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a Cyberse monster, you can target 1 Eye spell or trap in your graveyard and add to your hand. So it basically has the option to target 1 in the graveyard and recycle it back to our hand to special summon, or even recycle any of our spell and traps we may have. So just being able to reuse a lot of these new spells is a big plus there for sure. I only run 2 of it though, because you have to have the cards already set up in your graveyard ready to go, which, the other ones we spoke of already just need to be summoned out, being a big plus there for sure. If you don't have anything and you open up Doyon early game, it's not going to help you as much, aside from the fact that you can use it for one of your link summons. For some of the lower numbers for the deck, I am running 1 of the new Donmari @Ignister. When this card in an attack is declared involving it in your Ignister monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, negate that attack. While you control a Link 6 monster, quick effect, you could banish this card from your field or graveyard to target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and negate its effect until the end of turn. You can only use each effect of Donmari once per turn. So this is kind of like a play off of the fact that in the anime, I would eat data of basically people that Yusaku defeated. This is the form he took when he ate that data. Basically negating that monster effect and playing off of that card art for this card is a big help when we go into our main go-to Link 6, which is the Arrival Cyberse @Ignister. When we summon it out and have Donmari to rely on in the graveyard, it's a big plus there for sure, and just an easy special summon from the hand. I also run 1 Bururu @Ignister, being our tuner monster for the deck, to summon out our Win Pegasus @Ignister. Another great option for the fact that this card can also be searched with the new spell, which I'll go over when we get to the spells. And lastly, 1 Doshin @Ignister, being if you control an @Ignister monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can target 1 Cyberse Link monster in your graveyard, return it to the extra deck. And if you do, add 1 Eye Lover Fusion, but it's mostly in the deck for the fact that it's just an easy special summon, even if you have 1 in the main monster zone. I'm not running the fusion play in this deck. If you wanted to run it, I could show what cards to take out, but like I said, if you just have 1 in your main monster monster zone, being able to special summon it from your hand that easily, and then just use it for more resources is why I like running the card in the deck. For some of the more bigger monsters, I also run the 1 Gachiri at Ignister and the 1 Gusari at Ignister. These are more special summon options, especially when our opponent declares an attack, or even just options by being able to target a Cyberse you control, negate its effect, and special summon this card from your hand. As different options when you special summon on the field, it's more resources for you to rely on. So I'm only running 1 of each card, but still a big help for sure for some of those other plays we may go for. For some other generic Cyberse monsters, I also run 3 Parallel Exceed. The fact that it adjusts its level to 4 when it special summons another one can help for going into Light Dragon at Ignister, since it just needs 2 level 4 monsters, but also for the fact that just when we link summon, it can summon out onto the field that much more easily, because we have a bunch of monsters that can definitely benefit from the link arrow option, or just needing resources to summon out more monsters from the extra deck onto the field. That's where Parallel Exceed comes in handy, and why I'm running 3 of it, just so you have more and more resources to summon out using this card. And I also run 1 Scriptron. This is more of a special summon by banishing a Cyberse monster from our graveyard, and this special summons it from the hand, and if it's sent to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a Cyberse monster, which is the extra deck entirely, you can target 1 banished monster and shuffle it into the deck. So I like it also as the recycle power for a lot of our other at Ignister monsters that might be banished from a bunch of other plays. For the rest of the monsters in the main deck, I also run 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, just my hand trap of choice. You could also try Nibiru if you want, just more the fact that this is the type of deck that will be going with a lot of different plays, so you don't really want to tribute as much. That's why I prefer Ash Blossom. It just stops our opponent's plays altogether. Our opponent will definitely want to use Nibiru against us, because this is a deck that special summons a lot onto the field, and then they'll basically tribute all of our resources, or at least attempt to, because even if they clear our field, we might have enough cards on the field to use with other plays. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Ignister Island. With the new Search Link 1 monster, I even considered dropping this card down to 2. If you wanted to do so, you could take one of these cards out for the I Love Fusion spot, just running 2 in the main deck, but I have the 3 in here for now. If you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower at Ignister monster from your hand, but for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters with the same original tribute by the effect of Ignister Island, which we run a good number of different attributes in the deck, so no problem there. Also, you cannot special summon monsters except for Cyberse monsters, even if this card leaves the field. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish 1 at Ignister monster in your graveyard and set this card. So you have the recycle power from the graveyard, and the banish is our main go-to recycle power that we use with Scripton on the field. But being able to just special summon more and more monsters, as long as we keep the main monster zone empty, which those monsters will be invested into the extra monster zone, it's our main go-to way to get out higher and higher link monsters on the field. And one of the new cards, which you definitely have to run 3 of because it's just that good of a card, is I Meet You. You reveal 1 Cyberse monster with 2300 attack in your hand or extra deck, and add 1 at Ignister monster with the same attribute from your deck to your hand, and during the end phase of the turn, take 2300 damage if you do not special summon the revealed monster or a monster with the same name after you resolve this effect. You cannot activate monster effects with us this turn after this effect resolves, except for Cyberse monsters. You can activate 1 I Meet You per turn. So it's not really that big of a problem. All you have to do is reveal that monster, and most of the time you will have the intention to summon out that card. So if you reveal Dark Templar, you can search out Doyon. If you reveal Fire Phoenix, you can search out Achichi. If you reveal your Light Dragon, you basically have the search option for any of the at Ignister main deck monsters you have, because you have all of these different monsters in the extra deck with 2300. So this is just your searcher for any of the cards to go for. And like I said, the burn damage isn't that big of a problem, because most of the time you're not even going to take that burn damage. It's a definite 3 of. Once you open this card up, you have access, as long as you have that card in the extra deck, for any of those other at Ignister monsters you may need. For the fact that it's also an I card means that it's searchable with Bakari in the deck also. And I also run 3 Idol Reborn. You target 1 at Ignister monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, except for Cyberse monsters. And when an attack is declared involving 2 monsters, you can banish this card from your graveyard and 1 card from your hand to target one of your eye spells, traps that is banished, or in your graveyard, except Idol Reborn, and add that card to your hand. More recycle power, but the special summon and the fact that this is a quick play can make up for a bunch of different resources you may go for in the deck. And why with it, you just have an option option to set this card out onto the field, activating it, and then being able to go up against your opponent for all of those different plays. It's very, very useful for that, and why I like running 3 of it for the setup. If you wanted to reduce the number of Idle Reborns we run for the fact that it is also searchable, you can add in some additional copies of any of the next couple cards we run. Or if you want to keep all the copies of Ignister Island we run, this can be another spot to take out for I Love Fusion. And I also run one of the new One Curry Way. This is actually not a at Ignister card, but works with the Link 1 monster we're running. Since it just says target 1, Link 1 monster in either graveyard, return it to the extra deck, or special summon it to the owner's field. So with it, you can summon out the new Dark Infant at Ignister, or even the Link Karibo, both being level 1 targets to summon. And with the arrow adjustment with Dark Infant, it's just better for some of the co-link plays we may go for. Also with cards like our Transcode Talker, or even our go-to setup with Access Code Talker. And for more draw power, I also run 1 Eye Contact. I've always still liked this card. If Ignister Island is on your field zone, reveal 1 at Ignister Island in your hand, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, draw 3 cards. So even with the multiples that I'm running, the fact that you place it on the bottom and you draw 3 cards means you won't draw into that Ignister Island again. It just gives you more draw power setup. This is another card I consider taking out for Idle Reborn if you were to drop the number of Ignister Island. But still, I like running the 3 for this draw power altogether, because if you have those multiples, it's just 3 more potential better cards for you to draw into, including our I Meet You spell card, which you definitely want to see more than a lot of the other cards we see double-wise. For more of the generic Cyber support, I also run 3 Signet Mining. More of the search power, but not only that, being able to search a level 4 or lower, and the fact that you can also target 1 in your graveyard means you can send a at Ignister monster, and then search out Doyon, then summon Doyon, and use Doyon to recycle those cards back to your hand, while also having the potential other I spell in your graveyard to recycle with Doyon after using it for a Link summon. And for some of the other one-ofs, I run 1 Call by the Grave and 1 Monster Reborn. Just like the One Curry Way, there is the option for Monster Reborn to summon anything back onto the field and not just the Link 1 monster. And Call by the Grave can help to stop any of your opponent's graveyard plays they may be trying to go for. And that is it for the spells. We'll move on to the traps. I'm running 1 of the new I Challenge You. It's a continuous trap, still searchable with cards like Picari. That's why we're only running 1 of this card. Monsters your opponent control gain 100 attack for each card you control. If you're at Ignister monster battles, your opponent cannot activate card or effects until the end of damage step. And when your at Ignister monster is destroyed by battle, you can target 1 other Cyberse monster with 2300 attack in your graveyard and special summon it. So with this card, you can only use this effect of I Challenge You once per turn, but it's really like the battle standoff that I had with Yusaku in the anime, but a great way to add resources back onto the field and also power down your opponent's monsters depending on how strong they are, because the good majority of cards we're running in this deck are 2300, so you might need just this little power minus to your opponent to at least drop those numbers so those monsters can hit over your opponent's monsters. And lastly, for the traps, I also run 3 Solemn Strike. Was debating running, the additional numbers of Nibiru along with Ash Blossom, or even another additional hand trap like Effect Veiler, but I decided with the Solemn Strike, this is a good way to stop some opponent's plays. When you have your setup on the field, you have a good number of other cards on the field like I Challenge You, your field spell, so just hiding in the mix can be a Solemn Strike to activate and stop a good number of your opponent's summons. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I run 2 Dark Infant at Ignister. You need 1 non-link at Ignister monster, so very, very easy to summon out, even with some of our extra deck monsters. And the fact that you're not limited to the attack as well, or level, means that you can summon out some of our bigger boss monsters and still use it to summon out our Dark Infant at Ignister. If this card is link summoned, you can add 1 Ignister Island from your deck to your hand. When a Cyberse monster with 2300 original attack activates its effect from, basically, you can move this card to the main monster zone this card points to, then you can change it to any attribute until the end of this turn. You can only use each effect of Dark Infant at Ignister once per turn. So with this card, you have more plays to rely on. The fact that this card also adds Ignister Island is the main go-to setup, and being able to move this card to the main monster zone can set up some of our other plays, including the additional link arrows for some other monsters. We're not limited for the monsters like Synchro, Fusion, and Xyz with those plays. It's more for more link plays with where the link arrow will point with this card. And I also run one Lingaribo. I still like this setup, if we can go into it, for more protection with being able to negate a trap on our opponent's plays. It may stop evenly matched, you name it, or just something they have waiting for us. Also, one Dark Templar at Ignister. A good setup for the Link Arrows, more special summons to help go into our Link 6 monster. One Fire Phoenix at Ignister, also just for the destruction plays I spoke of, and the Link Arrow setup with this card. And also, excuse me, I've been talking a lot for all of these different weird names for the at Ignister monsters. The one Arrival Cybers at Ignister, the main go-to Link 6 boss monster as well. This card is a powerhouse. Just being able to summon it, you need 3 monsters with different attributes, 3 or more. So you need the Link 6 arrow, so obviously a Link 3, and then the additional monsters to add up to it. This card, when you summon it out, and just the fact that it can gain some pretty high attack and stop the fact that it's unaffected by your opponent's cards, is the powerhouse we spoke of before for this card to rely on. I also run 2 Splash Mages. This is more of a special summon card with its Link Arrows being able to summon a Cybers monster on the field from the graveyard, even with our non-Link monsters being targets for the special summon to use as more resources. And for the synchro plays, one Cyber Swit Kid. This card's a big help just for setting up the synchro play to go into Wind Pegasus. One Transcode for more special summon options with the graveyard. Access Code Talker and Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid are more big Link 4 monsters. I thought of Firewall, but I do like Access Code as a better powerhouse to rely on against our opponents. And for the Xyz monsters, I run 2 of the Light Dragon at Ignister. I just find it to be great for the destruction against our opponent and just an easy rank 4 to make. Just need 2 level 4s. So most of the time you will use the level adjust with Picari at Ignister, but still with the option to have this card be the search target to get out Picari using RI Meet You is another big plus there. And then lastly, the one Wind Pegasus at Ignister. Once again, a search target for our Bururu, for the fact that you have to reveal it. And then when you get Bururu to your hand, you can use it to summon the Wind Pegasus so you don't take any of the damage either. So with it, you have the search target available and then the intended card to go into also. As for the go-to plays, as that's it for the extra deck, it really comes down to what you open up. Being able to summon out Picari or Achichi can open up a lot of plays, because if, let's say, you open up Achichi, the biggest weakness you had with this card originally was not opening up your Ignister Island. So with this card, you can at least summon Achichi, then search out a Picari to your hand, and then having the one Achichi in the main monster zone, you can then use it for a Link summon to go into the new Dark Infant at Ignister. And this card, when it is Link summoned, adding one Ignister Island from our deck to our hand, you can then activate the field spell, and having the main monster zone open, special summon the Picari that you searched out with the Achichi onto the field. Then the Picari can activate its own monster effect, being able to then add another eye spell or a trap from your deck to your hand as for this. And when a Cybers monster with 23 original attack activates effect, remember that with the Dark Infant, because then you can use the play that you have here to summon out your Idol Reborn, or even just go for another option for the play that we set up before, summoning out the Achichi at Ignister, going for a Link 3 play using those 3 monsters. Since it's a Dark attribute, Light and Fire, you can then summon out your Dark Templar at Ignister, needing 3 monsters with different names. And then with that, all you need is 1 more monster in your hand for the additional play for that special summon. You can even just be an easy setup, but the play with your Dark Templar, if a monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, even during the damage step, special summon as many of the at Ignister. So even with Scriptron, you can banish the Infant, special summoning it, giving you the 2 additional monsters on the field, being a Fire and a Light. So with it, you have your Link 3 monster and your other additional monsters to then use for the Link 6 play, using all of them because they are 3 monsters with different attributes on the field, being the Water, Light, Fire, and Dark, and then summoning out the Arrival Cybers at Ignister on the field with just that initial start of 2 cards in the hand. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. This is definitely one I was excited for from this set, so I'm glad I was able to finally update it. I'm glad not too many other cards were also that high of a rarity, but still a big plus, just because this deck I think is going to be a lot of fun, especially when we get that newer support later on in the year as well. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.